The journey started 1 month ago on the 16th of June with the one-off test in Bristol. It was a fighting draw that India earned thanks to Tanya Bhatia and Sneh Rana, and both teams split points. Then we saw the three ODIs. It was once again a bit more in England's favor before India pulled things back and then kept things interesting as the T20Is began. Three T20Is, it was once again a tussle, almost a seesaw battle. Series was leveled heading into the final game yesterday, the decider, which was to decide not just the T20Is, also the multi-format series. Not largely unexpected. England pulled off the final game as well as the multi-format series. 10-6, it finally ended yesterday. Welcome back to the Outside View Live. This is our finale for India Tour of England 2021. And I'm joined by Vanitha VR and Ananya Upendran. Vanitha, first thoughts is 10-6 says the margin, but it's more than just 10-6, isn't it? It was much more competitive Indian team that went to England, wasn't it?
Definitely, there was a point where, we had the opportunity to make it 8-all. So it shows the quality of cricket that we played. It wasn't just one-sided, usually, which travels to UK. And this team definitely showed a lot of grit and, perseverance throughout the tournament. The way how they bounced back is something which we need to take this out of it. And then I remember, compared to an England who's been playing a lot of cricket and, regularly playing a lot of series, to Indians who are just coming off from a big layoff from pandemic, and then going out there and giving a good tough fight against a competitive side like England. I mean, there's a lot of positive for us to look forward, and to take home there is a lot of positive. And we saw how every time we were down and out, the way how we bounced back showed a lot of character, showed a lot of resilience from the girls, that okay, we can come and play some quality cricket against the quality side. So definitely there are a lot of positives to take from this tour, Sudarshan.
And yeah, we talked about this a lot. I mean, Vanitha mentioned it just. Ramesh Pawar in the press conference yesterday also talked about it, that India haven't played a lot of cricket while England have been almost busy playing the RHF trophy as well as the Charlotte Edwards Cup. But this 10-6, it's not just 10-6, and India could be very well happy with how the series has progressed, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, professional teams usually will go and say we're looking to win the series, but just the context of the series, like everyone's mentioned several times, that India are coming off a long layoff. So honestly, I did not expect them to be as competitive as they were, because this is an England side or England players who have been playing a lot in the recent past, and they've gotten a fair bit of game time under their belts. And in comparison, India kind of got thrown into the deep end with that test match. They had no right to save it. England were well ahead for 3 of the 4 days, and India kind of found a way to seal a draw. And I think that kind of gave them a bit of momentum going into the limited overs series. But of course, you look at that England team, and again, India had no right to challenge them. They are such a powerful unit. You look at that batting lineup, such powerful batters, down to number 6, number 7, Sophia Dunkley kind of came in and showed what a quality player she is. So honestly, I didn't think India would be as competitive as they were. But in hindsight, we're all people who like to see this Indian team win. We're all people who want to see them be successful. So we would have preferred an 8-all to a 10-6, but hey, it is what it is.
We are also having some special appearances on our show today, Vanitha. But let's come to it. Let's talk about these 3 matches. Let's talk something that, I mean, everyone wants to talk, but nobody wants to talk. It's kind of that situation, the Indian batting order. What is it? Who's the number 3? Who's the number 4? Who's the number 5? Vanitha, have India kind of found a way to put personnel in these 3 numbers?
See, look, 2 years ago, we found Jemima. We were all happy that, okay, we found Jemima. But again, now we are in the spot of bother. Like, although having Jemima in the team, we are like trying to figure out who's the number 3. See, the sad state is that, it gives a lot of imbalance to the team when you don't have the right apt number 3 bat, because that gives a lot of balance, that gives a lot of momentum, because somebody who's coming there comes in with a very tough position. The team is either doing well, you have to get going from ball 1, or you have to just consolidate, build the innings, and take it a long way. So it's a very tough position. I mean, you really need somebody who's solid up there, number 3. But look, what we saw in this tournament, clearly Harlin was struggling with the bat throughout, batting completely at 84 strike rate. It puts a lot of pressure on the other person who's going, especially when you have a specialist openers who's so good at power play. When you're unable to get the maximum balls being utilized in the power play, sort of, throws out of your plan. It gives a lot of, you're running out of options. Basically, you're running out of options to how you need to go about in the power play, because power play usually, there's a lot of calculated risk involved in it, and somebody who's not willing to take any risk there, somebody like an Harlin, we didn't. I mean, although she showed that intent in the first T20, but it was not good enough. At that level, although you're hitting straight to the fielder, and that's not what we are looking at. You should be able to hit through the gap, and that's exactly what the specialist is expected to do. But I feel clearly India should, probably reconsider having Jemmy at number 3. If they're going with the same 15 squad the next series, I think they should consider having Jemmy back, at number 3, because she's done it in the past. It's just about matter of getting one innings. When the one innings concept is there for the entire teammates there, I think the same applies to her also. That it's matter of about getting that one innings going, and if she gets going, and she's so good, at least she rotates the strike, she has the ability to run and push those ones and twos. So any day I would have a Jemima. But look, again, if you really don't want to have Jemima, then I think we have to go outside the box and think about players who are who's ready to take on that role.
Indeed, it's beautiful to talk about being flexible or being versatile with your batting order, Ananya. But to have fixed spots for players always helps, doesn't it? We've seen the landings of Australia, the Shivers and Knights of England, to have fixed batting spots. Of course, bar for minor tweaks here and there, it's largely different, defined roles, fixed spots. So, would you rather have such fixed spots for India as well in T20s, or you'd rather be flexible and versatile and take things as they come by?
Well, I think more than the number of the batting position, I think it's the roles that you need to define a little better. I think in T20 cricket, you have to be flexible with the number you bat, but I think as long as we define what role we want each player to play, I think it just becomes easier for them to adapt, to understand what they're expected to do in different situations. So I think that kind of clarity is required in this Indian team. The numbers in T20 cricket, we've seen, you have to be a little bit flexible. We've seen that with Australia as well. They have like for likes with left-handers coming in when left-handers get out. So, Rachel Haynes could one day bat at number 3 and the next day bat at number 7. You never know. So I think the number is irrelevant in T20 cricket, and it's more about the role definition. And like Vanitha said, I think we need someone slightly more dynamic at number 3. You can't, it's not necessarily an anchor position, because in T20s, I think anchors shouldn't exist. When you have someone like Smriti Mandana who can do both, who can bat for long periods and also score quickly, I don't think you need someone to hold the innings together as such. Or if you do, then they should be at least batting at 105, 110. So we need someone slightly more dynamic, and that if that means, like she said, going back to old personnel, then so be it. But I think we also need to be clear in either giving them a slightly longer rope and saying, hey, this is what we want you to do, and we want you to bat in a certain way. And if that way doesn't get them runs, then you still back them. So I think that's what Australia did fantastically well with someone like Ash Gardner. Ash Gardner, through 2019-20 barely got any runs, but then you see her, after I think late 2020, since then she's been scoring consistently. So it's about defining roles and saying, if you bat in a certain way, we will back you regardless of the numbers that you produce.
Indeed, but Vanitha, where does this series leave Jemima Rodriguez? Because we saw she didn't make the Test 11, missed on the first ODI, played the last 2 ODIs, and then didn't play the T20I as well. So where does it leave Jemima Rodriguez?
See, somebody like a Jemmy right now, the big question is how will she get her form back. Luckily, she has this 100 going now. Get some runs behind, her whole approach is going to change. But look, again, you can't really, for a player like Jemmy, you can't really keep her out of the squad because she is someone who's so good that it's so difficult to keep her out of the squad. But at the same time, she needs that runs badly to get back in, in scheme of things, because that's what we are looking at, because you get straight away and then you need to be able to make or create that impact, and that's what is expected from Jemmy. The thing is that she's trying really hard. It's not that she's not able to give her best. She's trying really hard. It's just that probably some runs would do wonders for her, some good for her. I am expecting her to get going in this 100. Probably that will change the momentum that we have towards Jemmy, saying that okay, will she not make it. I think once she probably gets runs, we saw that the last time she played the Super League in England, the way how she bounced back, she was fabulous. I'm hoping round will happen, simply because now she will not have the responsibility like the way how it is to feel the pressure, how it is to feel at the international level. Now I feel this is the right time for her to get some runs underneath and get going, because this will give her a lot of confidence. It's just about going there and spending some time. I think this is the right platform for her to try and get into probably being amongst runs.
Let's have a quick recap of what happened in these three T20Is. The first match, of course, England posted 177. It was a rail-curtain match that saw India go down by 18 runs thanks to the DLS. Then came the second ODI, second T20I. India posted 148. England were kept to 140. And then the match yesterday, where even after posting 153, England just overhauled it with 8 wickets in hand. But all through these 3 games, and also before that, we talk about the ODIs and tests, there was one constant in that England side who was troubling India to no ends, and that was Natalie Siver. Ananya, how do you keep her quiet? If she does it with the bat, she'll do it on the field, she'll do it with the ball. How do you keep her quiet from an Indian perspective?
I think India are leaving English shores still scratching their heads, saying how do we dismiss her? How do we get her out? The only time that they did dismiss her early was when, of course, Richa Ghosh kind of fumbled that ball and got her run out, which, I mean, again, was a very Pakistan-like dismissal. So I think that wasn't Natalie Siver, that was an imposter there. So yeah, look, she was phenomenal, and we've spoken through the series about her batting, which of course has been exceptional. I mean, she scored at a strike rate of 150 odd in these T20Is. But for me, what's been the standout through the series and what's kind of flown under the radar is her consistency with the ball. I mean, in a T20 series, her economy rate is around 5.5 runs and over. So I think that's just exceptional. And even in the test match, we saw how she built that pressure at one end, bowling nine maidens, I think, in 10 overs or something like that. She was just so consistent with the ball, which allowed England to kind of, I suppose, create a lot of pressure across the series with the ball. They could use people like Brunt, Sophie Eccleston. In shorter spells, they allowed them to attack while Siver held one end up. So, while her batting is taking, the limelight, and rightly so, I think it was Siver's bowling that really impressed me. And just the fact that she's kind of evolved as now somewhat of a proper all-rounder, I think she can make her place with both skills at this point, I think is just amazing. And it's giving England such flexibility in their white ball sides, which is great.
Vanitha, we watch movies and we sometimes look at some roles and think, wish we were there, or, something along those lines. But as a batter, did you ever wish, looking at the ball in Natalie Siver's hands, that you want to be there and do something? Or how would you rather face her, and how would you play her?
I mean, definitely, she's got a lot of varieties. I mean, that's what you're looking at, a cricketer like, who's been there doing it time and again. And also probably her experience at the international level, that, she's able to come out there and pull it off when the team really needs the most. And that's what I expect from a player like her. If you're playing for certain years, and being the vice captain also probably adds up to a lot of value. It shows a lot of responsibility that she's carrying. Clearly, leader in the making, somebody like her, somebody performing out there, always makes you feel nice, as players, you would want to just look up to somebody like that. And that's exactly what she's trying to do. Every time she's going out there, either with a bat or ball, ensuring that, she gives her best. And you can see it, the way she's running into bowl also, you can see that, okay, she gives all her heart and soul out there, bowling every delivery. And even though I've seen the way how she bounces back, even though she goes for runs, the way how she bounces back is fabulous. I mean, that's like a complete cricketer you would love to have any day. And if you're on the other end facing her, I think it's either you're bowling to her or you're batting. You'll have to be really, really, really at it. Otherwise, you'll end up being troubled by her.
But would you rather, on her current form, want to face her? You look to my bouncer.
Look, if you put me Vanitha as a cricketer, I would definitely say yes, bring it on, because I love competition. I mean, I love playing the top players, and that's exactly what I would say. But yeah, if I have to think from any other cricketer, then I would be like, no. I mean, I would rather not face her much, because somebody who's on top, somebody who's been in form, you would definitely be cautious about that player. You'll think twice before taking any kind of calculated risk also against the player. So you would always want to see off that bowler, basically, like, okay, how much over we get, we're happy with that. Rather not take a chance against such bowler in form.
Well, let's talk about the Indian seam bowling. Ananya, India went there with 5 seamers, used 4 of them, #team pacer, but face in hand moment. I totally understand, but we've seen that Ramesh Pawar, the head coach, has acknowledged the fact that there is a dearth of seamers who can kind of make it at the highest level. So based on what we've seen throughout the T20Is as well as the ODIs and tests, whose spot you think is safe and who'd rather be on shaky grounds?
Look, I mean, I don't want to make a call on whose spot is safe or who isn't, but I think all 3 seamers who, both the seamers who were part of the T20I 11s, I think they showed glimpses of what they are capable of, but they just weren't consistent enough, for it, and they weren't able to get India early breakthroughs across the series. So look, I think there is potential there, and there always has been potential. I think in India, there is always going to be so much potential simply because of the number of people who play cricket in our country. So I think, look, they're all going to be slightly, I suppose, not happy with the way they went, because, you go to England and you just assume that seamers are going to probably get a bunch of wickets because the ball seams around, the ball swings. There wasn't that much movement on offer, but I think across the series, even Pooja Vastarkar showed glimpses of what she's capable of. So there is, again, potential there. I think what needs to happen, and I think Pawar said this as well in the press conference, is that there are slight tweaks, I think, that all of them will need to make. And it's about what we did see is that India showed faith in all of them, or the ones who played, they showed faith in them for a consistent period, gave them a fair run through the series. So I think that's important in terms of just developing that group of seamers, that you consistently give them game time, that you give them a bit of a rope, like we give our batters, and say, you're just 1 innings away. I think that for the bowlers as well, you kind of need to give them a bit of a rope and allow them to bowl in different situations. I know it's not ideal when sometimes that's what costs you the game, but that's how these players are going to learn. So look, there is a dearth of pace bowling, a dearth of pacers, I suppose, at the international level for India, yes. But I think there's a lot of talent that we can groom. There's a lot of ability, even within the domestic circuit. I'd say there is a lot of ability. You think of someone like Mansi Joshi, who hasn't made it. Think of someone like Meghna Singh, who's been bowling very, very well over the last couple of years. In the domestic circuit. So there is a lot of talent. Anjali Sarwani as well, of Andhra, left arm seamer. There are a lot of people who are doing well, making the right noises. I think it's just about giving them a bit of time, maybe not directly at the international level, because that's not fair, but either holding camps, I suppose helping them develop, sending them for, A tours, things like that. What Pakistan is doing now, having parallel A tours and senior international tours. I think those are things that India will need to do in the lead up to the World Cup, just to expose the talent we have to what is required to succeed at that level. So I'm not convinced that we don't have the ability. I'm just convinced, I just feel like we need to probably provide them with a bit more of an opportunity to develop.
Indeed, that was about the seamers, but one spinner who's also kind of under the scanner, or looking at her recent performances, is Radha Yadav. Had a terrific run of form, 27 matches, a record 27 matches, where she picked at least 1 wicket, Vanitha. But what wrong did you see in her in this series? Because this is the series where one, her streak got broken, but also the fact that she couldn't stop the run flow as well and couldn't probably land the ball as well. So what probably changed? What went wrong for Radha Yadav, you think?
I think clearly it's the game time. She clearly lacked, much. Uh, and what I also felt was, after a point, I felt she was trying too hard. First match she was very slower through the air, and then the second match she was trying to bowl faster, and she was pitching almost closer to her feet, and that's not expected. I remember Tammy taking for two bounds or something. So see, look, it was something I felt that Radha was clearly out of form, like how a batter struggles to middle the ball. Likewise, the bowler was struggling to actually pitch on the right areas, and that is one such series for Radha. Clearly, she needs some more game time before she gets going, because you're having a long layoff for almost a month. You've been like traveling with the team. You've not got a game to play, and then to come out and to play in T20, which is very intense, and you just have to be spot on. For bowlers, you do find it difficult because it's all about rhythm there. And I felt clearly she was lacking all of these things. Maybe the next series, as she keeps playing, and as she, probably they'll go back and introspect, because Radha is your main bowler now. And look, if she's also we need to remember that once Rajeshwari comes back into things, Radha cannot keep on bowling like this and say, okay, it's just one odd series, because Rajeshwari has been your top bowler for the team. She also needs to keep this in mind, and when they're going back and introspecting, I think they clearly needs to come out with a different approach in terms of how Radha bowled. Clearly not the way how she bowls. Maybe she was trying something out there. Maybe she was trying way too much, which is not needed at this point in time. Probably should have come and sticked around to the basic in terms of bowling. But I felt she tried too many things too early. And, that's not what is expected from a player like her. Hopefully she'll go back and introspect of what went wrong, and then come back stronger the next series, because it is getting way too much competition for the bowling unit. It is getting way too competitive, because once your main bowlers are back, you can't take things for granted, isn't it? So you have to be on top. You need to be spot on there. Now I think Radha will be aware of where she went wrong. She's a very hardworking girl. She'll go back and probably work on things, and get all the things back in place.
Indeed, if Radha Yadav lost her form as the series went by, there was another player of England who kind of gained form, and that is Daniel Wyatt. Didn't have a best first T20I, kind of had a middling return the second, but the third T20I yesterday, 89 not out of just 56 balls. Ananya, she almost turned it around, and in some style, isn't it? Because she was, remember, pushed out of the national side, wasn't selected in that ODI setup, which we probably might not have imagined as well. So a good turnaround for her.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I think, while she was going all guns blazing yesterday, I was thinking, where have we seen this before? Smriti Mandana shines in the first innings, India get a decent total, and then Danny Wyatt comes and chases it down almost single-handedly. And again, my mind went back to 2018 Mumbai, where Wyatt came out and smashed India around the park. So yeah, she was fantastic. Just the way she manipulated and was able to score, maybe 180 degrees on the offside. She showed finesse to get the ball through third man. She was able to hit over point, over extra cover, and through long off as well. So I think just the control she showed over her blade to be able to create those angles. When you think of something like that, I think of Mithali Raj and the control she has to kind of find the gaps in the field. But yesterday, Danny Wyatt showed that surgical precision as well, especially against the spinners, to be able to create that room, step aside to Sneha Rana, hit her over extra cover. She did that a lot. And I think, and not to take any credit away from her, but India also kind of played into her hands a little bit. None of the fielders were back on the offside. And you think of Danny Wyatt's major scoring areas, it is over and through the offside. She rarely hits to long on. She'll hit you straight, maybe over long off, but rarely to long on. And India always had a long on. So I think, they didn't quite plan very well to her, but again, taking nothing away from her, I think she paced that innings beautifully, started off slightly slowly, but once she found her range, it was impossible to stop her.
Indeed, impossible. And she wasn't stopped as well. 89 not out, as we said. Right then that almost brings us towards the end of India Tour of England 2021. This is also the finale of the Outside You Live for this series. Before we go off, before we sign off, Vanitha, your pick for the player who impressed you, from one from India, one from England. Of course, our very old catch, Ananya, you can't pick what Vanitha picks. So, Vanitha, let's start with you. One player who impressed you from India.
Richa Ghosh, definitely the way how that is something which it's not a usual thing for her. The way how she came back into the squad as a keeper, and then to be able to keep, and because see, look, somebody who was keeping so well throughout the series, and somebody who spoke so much about Tanya Bhatia, to be able to come up and keep up to that reputation, I think she really lived up to it. Hats off to her. She was incredible throughout the series. You didn't feel like a Nai was just keeping there. You felt like as if a pro literally keeping there for like good 50-60 odd games. Literally felt like um, look, if you ask me honestly, I'll like to be really honest. You didn't feel like you missed Tanya there. Richard did exactly the same thing what Tanya would be doing behind the scenes. And the way, and if I have to pick the batting, I think, my God, she was fabulous. I really loved the way how she moved across, and she was, picking the ball. This is what I was just talking. The way how you finish. Exactly, I think we found an exact finisher in the form of Richa. It reminds us of men's cricket, isn't it? Somebody like a Rishabh Pant or a Dhoni coming and doing the job, and that's exactly what I think. We have it in the form of Richa. She's flamboyant, and that, I think, that is something which I've been very impressed. For me, it's Richa Ghosh from Indian side, and if I have to go, I'll give it for Danny White, because the way how she bounced back, it's not easy, to come back, being dropped from the squad, to be able to come back and perform at the topmost, and trying to dominate the bowlers. First match she was really scratchy. Second match she was off. But the way how she came back the third game, it really showed a lot of character. Obviously, this is what you're expected at the top level, and that's what that's what she delivered at that point in time. And I'm really impressed the way how she came back, because I'm a big fan of somebody who comes back after after you being left out, or after you going through a rough patch, because it shows a lot of mental character. It's not just the skill, it shows a lot of mental strength, and I'm a big fan of that. So for me, it's Danny White for this England squad, from the
Mr.
England
Ghosh
squad.
and Danny White, says Vanitha. Ananya, what are your picks for who impressed you from India and England?
Well, from India, I guess I have to pick Harmanpreet Kaur. I mean, just the pressure she was under, having failed in the test, not having found form in the ODIs, came in and played two very, very impressive knocks. I think the way she batted in the final T20I was, it kind of rolled back the years. She struck the ball beautifully, found the gaps as well. So it was great to see her find some form, and it feels like hopefully this is the start of a slightly bigger 6 to 7 months for her. It has been a difficult time for her, I'm sure. So just to find her form again, it was great to see. So from India, I'd pick Harman. From England, look, the easy choice would be Natalie Siver, not just because she was player of the series, but just everything she's done through the course of this series. But I'm going to go very left field and pick a person who doesn't necessarily have the numbers, but I was very impressed by Freya Davies. I think just the way she came in bold in those middle overs, controlled India's scoring rates, went at 7.5 and over in those middle overs, never really allowed the batters to get away. And her use of the slower deliveries, I think, on surfaces, the change of pace, change of angles, was something that I really enjoyed. And I think that's something that India can learn from these English seamers, that there was so much variation that they brought. It wasn't just bowling seam up at hard length and allowing the batters to settle in. There was a lot of variation they brought. They kept them guessing. So for me, Freya Davies, even though she just got one wicket, was my pick for England's most impressive player.
Right, there you go. Ananya sticking to her hashtag team pacer pick by picking at least one of those teamers, but of course, justified thoroughly. There you go. That is curtains on the Outside View Live for the India Tour of England. Thank you, Vanitha, for being part of it. And thanks, Ananya, as always. For those of you watching, hope you enjoyed the coverage throughout the series. Remember, it began in June with that one-off test. And now here we are coming to the end of this journey. We'll see you next time. We'll see you soon because there's lots of cricket happening. And of course, India will yet again play a series after a month or so when they go to Australia. So lots of action coming up, lots of talks coming up. So till the next time, take care, stay safe. Goodbye.